Welcome to another edition of 100% Canucks in the summertime. John Shannon here. Today's discussion will be with Cliff Ronning, a guy who was a fan favorite for the Vancouver Canucks, grew up in the area, played for the new Westminster Bruins in the Western Hockey League, did not get drafted by the Canucks, got drafted by St. Louis, but eventually ended up in the white, black, and the angry skate of the Canucks and Pat Quinn in the early 90s. And he became a key factor in the Canucks on the offensive side of the puck. And he might argue that he played okay defensively, but on the offensive side of the puck for sure, as the Canucks went to the Stanley Cup Final. One of the amazing things with Ronning is, and if you don't know who he is, check his bio. He probably played no more than 165 pounds. His bio says 5'8". There's not a chance he's 5'8". And he played more than 1,100 games in the National Hockey League, not just with the Canucks, with St. Louis and Phoenix, the Islanders, a couple of other teams. But to me, his ability to endure on the ice with the size that he was spoke volumes to his will, spoke volumes to his skill. He was an amazing player to watch, and in so many ways was an offensive catalyst wherever he played. So today, Cliff Ronning on this edition of 100% Canucks.
Face Off Inside the NHL returns, taking you deeper behind the scenes than ever before. See it all from the star-studded Four Nations Face Off tournament.
Us against the world, boys.
To the adrenaline of the Stanley Cup playoffs.
I'm scared of you guys.
With candid interviews and backstage access, experience the sacrifice, the rivalries, and the determination that define NHL greatness.
Just when I thought last year couldn't be topped, here we are.
A new season of Face Off Inside the NHL. Watch now only on Prime Video.
Welcome back to 100% Canucks. John Shannon, joined by Cliff Ronning. And Cliff, I don't want to make this about, in 1985, 86, you played for the national team, and then, this and that, and you ended up being a St. Louis Blue and then a Vancouver Canuck. To me, this is about a journey of a player that I think a lot of people doubted that could play in the NHL. And yet, when you look at your numbers, more than 300 goals, more than 600 points, and 1,137 games. When you think about that, would that be your most important milestone as an NHLer?
I think so. I think I was fortunate. I proved people wrong. And, I look back and I love the game of hockey, always have. And, I didn't realize I was a small guy or a smaller player because my heart wanted to play hockey. And I played hockey because I loved it. And I just found the more people told me I couldn't do something that I loved, pushed me harder to train harder and compete. And, I finally, I did very well in junior, but it was really the opportunity when Pat Quinn, put me on a first line when usually I just played the power play. And, he gave me a lot of respect in that aspect. So it gave me an opportunity to showcase that I could do it. And he helped myself believe in myself, and it went on from there. And I couldn't do it with without the players, and especially, the guys that used to protect me, from the Ojiks, the Berubis, and Todd Ewens. And I had so much respect for them because they protected me. And I was very fortunate that, my career was long, and it was not just because of myself. It was all the people that helped me along the way.
So, but you were a homegrown boy, right? When you think about it, growing up in the Lower Mainland, playing for the Bruins in New Westminster, finally getting back to Vancouver, was that part of the bucket list? Were you always a Canuck fan?
Yeah, growing up, 5, 6, 7 years old, listening to the Canucks on the radio and Jim Robson. And I was your typical young kid dreaming of wanting eventually, more when I was like 12 years old is when it kind of happened, when I thought possibly I might be able to play hockey at a higher level, but I've been a Canuck fan all my life, through thick and thin, good times, bad times, and just it's always been a journey. And I was fortunate to live out my dream and play for my hometown, um, and I'll never forget that. And I feel very fortunate. The fans have treated me unbelievable all the way through it, and I think they felt my pain, and they felt that they were hoping that I'd get a chance to play for my hometown, and it worked out for me. And we were just one game away from winning the cup.
Yeah. You talk about being a lifelong Canuck fan. Who was your favorite player as a boy?
Well, I think growing up, especially the eras of Stan Smeal and
Well, that's got to
Thomas.
hurt Stan. That's got to hurt Stan. You and Stan
Well,
aren't that much. You're not
well,
that much apart.
I think in
age.
80, yeah, I mean, I was what? I was 15 or 16 in 82 when they had their run. But even
Yeah.
before that, your typical players. I always admired Thomas Gradin, his smooth skating ability. Uh, I look back at, I remember going to the games when I was younger, but I didn't really watch the games, when Orland Kurtenbach and that era. It was more or less just going to the game. But I think the Jack McElhargy, these guys who had character, I always got a kick out of Tiger Williams. Just it was kind of more than just the game. You were hoping he'd score a couple goals, so he'd do some fun stuff on the ice. And so I think the character players are the ones that I really enjoyed watching. Not always the best player, but the guys that kind of just got involved with the fans.
We mentioned the New Westminster Bruins. Who was the best player you played with the Bruins?
Well, Brian Noonan was a spectacular goal scorer. Looking back, there was some really good players. Obviously, Bill Ramford went on to a great career, but Roger Melvana was a great two-way center. But once again, I mean, I was fortunate. Brian Noonan, I would have to say, had the soft hands, scored 50 goals. He was a very special player.
Yeah. So when you got to St. Louis, in fact, I mean, correct if I'm wrong, you actually played a playoff game for the Blues before you played a regular season game, correct?
Yeah, we're called the Black Aces, and it was in the semifinals, and we would practice the Black Aces, and we got called up from junior and not expecting to play. So they're just kind of teaching you the ropes of what it's going to be like to be in the NHL possibly, and the fans and all the excitement. And one of the players got hurt, or the power play was at 0%, and all of a sudden Ron Caron and the coach decided, you know what, we've had enough of this. We're going to put the young kid in there to see what he can do for a game. And that was my first. It was semifinals against Mike Vernon. And of all things, I ended up scoring a goal in the power play. And it was kind of like I was in shock, but the hard work did pay off. And eventually I got an opportunity to play a little bit more. But that was a great time in my life at 19 years old.
Were you there? I was in the building the night. It's a famous night in St. Louis called the Monday Night Miracle. Yeah. Doug Wickenheiser scores in overtime. I think the Flames were up 5-1 at one point.
And
the Blues came back. Greg Puslowski, Mark Hunter. Were you on that team?
Yeah, I was on that team, but I was that young rookie that once in a while would play, but just learning the ropes and keeping my mouth shut and working hard, and eventually I got an opportunity.
So that leads to the question: when did you finally? Now, you were always perceived to be such a talented player. Everybody knew you would belong. But when did you finally feel that you belonged in the NHL?
Well, I mean, I had a really good year, my fourth year with the Blues. I think I had 18 goals on just the power play alone. But all I did was play 5, 6 shifts a game, and play the power play. And I just wanted more. I wanted to enjoy the game. I wanted to enjoy the playing and putting my skates on. And I decided to go over to Italy to play for Ron Chipperfield, and Ken Yaremchuk was there. So
Sure.
I was fortunate enough to go and had a really good season. And the Blues came back and said, "Hey, we'd like you to come back." So it was kind of like, okay, I'm still pretty young. I think I was 24 or 25 and went back. But then I got traded halfway through the season to the Vancouver Canucks, which was my lifelong dream. And when we got traded, we were in Hartford, I believe. And I was really excited when they told us. Kind of wanted to hide it a little bit because Brian Sutter told us, and he's pretty stern and honest man. But I was really excited to go home. And then it hit me on the plane like, oh boy, this is it. It's do or die for me. And meeting Pat Quinn was a thrill, and he gave me an opportunity. So I think my first year with the Canucks, playing under Pat Quinn, giving me an opportunity and really helping me, even defensively, playing a little bit smarter, and taught me a lot. Not to try and out-muscle guys, just play off them a bit more. And just in a subtle way, he kind of helped me get to that next level, and I'll never forget that.
Well, before I want to finish the Quinn story, because I think we all have a real affection for Pat and what he did for hockey in Vancouver. But I can't imagine anybody walking in and saying, by the way, I'm going to leave the NHL and I'm going to play professional hockey in, of all places, Italy. Seriously. And listen, I know Ron Chipperfield, and Ron went over there and has had a great life away from the game, even living in Italy. But to think that you were leaving an NHL team to play professional hockey in Italy, what was your thought process?
It was easy. I never played, hockey for the money. It was like, hockey to me was my life. It was like what I enjoyed doing. And to get an opportunity to head over there and get to play, 15 to 20 minutes a game, I just wanted to enjoy the game. I was a field goal kicker in the NHL. I mean, I was fortunate. It was all exciting and playing the NHL, but that wasn't what it was. For me, it was about playing and enjoying the game. And I kind of started losing that feeling of, really belonging or playing 3 minutes a game. Or sometimes I would sit on the bench sometimes for 2 periods, and then I would be called upon and I'd have to shake out my legs and try to get your confidence. It was difficult. I mean, I did it, but that was tough times, and I just wanted to play and love the game again, and that's what happened. The game came back and loved me by, I did really well over there, and then they came back, NHL came back and said, "Hey, we want you back here," and then that's kind of what happened.
I don't want to make this criticism of Brian Sutter, but when you talk about how you played the game and why you played the game and the love of the game, that's almost something that I'm not sure Brian would understand in the way he coached and the intensity that he would have, whether it be in practice or behind the bench.
Yeah, I mean, I love Brian Sutter. I mean, he pushed me hard. He was a little softer on me than other guys. I've seen him like really go at guys, but he realized that, I was a playmaking type player. And he wanted me a little bit tougher and meaner, and it wasn't in my demeanor, I guess, to go and slash someone across the head or get in a fight for no reason. Like, I would fight if someone speared me, but that's just the way I was brought up. But I could understand, coming off a farm, and I still see him once in a while, and I respect him, and I believe he respects me. And there was limits that I could pull off playing against guys 240 pounds at the time, weighing 160 pounds. I'd probably get knocked out pretty quickly in a fight when my job was to make plays. And but I tried, and I tried to get better and listen to him, but the fit wasn't working. And maybe Pat had a little bit more. He could see more of the game with other players, and he's very well known at the time to be able to coach all types of players. And I think Sudsy wanted everyone to play a certain way. And, I wasn't that one guy, but there was no dislike from me to him, or Sudsy to me. It's just the way he saw things. And we still talk to this day.
You mentioned Pat and his ability to coach all different players. Was that his best strength?
Yeah, his best strength was being able to make everyone feel they're important on the team, and bring the team together at the right time. But he was able to coach, especially you look at the Team Canada's, coach a bunch of guys that are the best of the best. We're talking Mary Lemieux, Gretzky's, and if they did have egos, he knew how to make sure that he had everyone on the same page. Going and winning is more important than themselves. And I know in '94 that really was with our team too. We were having struggles, and everyone bought in. And it takes a very important human being to be able to get all those players to buy in for the right cause, because everyone has so much going on in their lives, but to have that moment where no matter if you're a first line center and all of a sudden now you're playing on the third line, you don't mope around. You just make sure you're going to do whatever you can this year for the team to win, whatever's called upon. And I think those guys are the most successful coaches all around the world, from even Bantam all the way up to the NHL. And especially when you get to World Cups, guys like Rick Tocchet were glue guys, and he said the same thing. He said everyone bought in when Pat Quinn was at the helm.
You touched on '94. What was it like to be a BC boy walking out of the Coliseum after you won in a Stanley Cup Final game?
I was proud. I was proud as a player, but also as a fan. That's something, looking back, like playing road hockey in the streets and always pretending you're going to score an overtime goal one day for your hometown. Like, for that to happen, I feel very fortunate it happened. And life moves on, and I'm still a fan of the Canucks. And, they're starting again. I love what they've done. They brought in a GM that's hungry, young, has gone and won a cup in Abbotsford. The Sedins, very respected, family-oriented. I'm excited also doing the community stuff. And that's, Pat Quinn always said, take care of your fans and the community, they'll take care of you in your bad times. So I think the good times are ahead for the Canucks.
That speaks to culture, doesn't it?
Culture is everything. You're right. You build a culture, and you see that with the best coaches. They can turn teams around pretty quickly, and we'll see what happens coming year here. But the support's happening. We're out doing a little hockey school out in Abbotsford, and it's you see all the kids, the enthusiasm. I think you can get that feeling back again.
So when you talk about that and we point fingers at the coach, there's a lot of culture that has to come from the players, though, right?
Players from old, players from new. But it always comes down to the direction of who's in charge, and that it always comes down to that. But coaches and general managers and presidents, and it always starts from the top and down and flows out. And I see good things happening. And it's going to take time, but start at the roots, and a tree will always grow.
So when you look back at '94, do you always lament we were that close, or what do you take out of a Game 7 loss?
Well, we were beat up. One thing I learned: don't make excuses. I mean, I had a broken hand going into the final game. Trevor Linden had broken ribs. We were a mess. I'm sure the other team was messed up too. I just think in the end, their experience of what it took. I think skill wise, fitness wise, we were there. Goaltending, we were there. I just think Mark Messier, he knew from winning before. I mean, it becomes a little bit, I hate to say it, the game gets a little bit violent when all the chips are on the line. And I'd love to go back and try and do it again. If I was young, I would have had a little bit, I would have learned something from it. But a lot of us, we only had Tim Hunter that had gone through it before. So I think the only thing that tipped over the ship for us would have been the leadership of Mark Messier winning so many times, and the Leaches and guys that have won before. But we were close, definitely close, and as close as any Canuck team's ever been. But to get there, you got to build from the roots. And like you said, it comes from the top. And Pat Quinn was extra special that brought us together. And Tim Hunter was a big part of, he played the fourth line, but he was a big part of teaching the guys, stop when you're supposed to stop in practice and that old school stuff. So it was a collective effort. And the '94 team, we're friends to this day. We joke around. We have a little group chat. And we're proud of what we did. We definitely didn't win the whole thing, but we're proud of that. Our effort was there, and we sacrificed our bodies to try and do it. So that next team that can win it, I'm all for it. It's going to take everything they got. And who knows, one day might happen.
I was going to say, you probably did have a little bit of reflection in 2011 when the team got back to the Stanley Cup Final and again lost in Game 7, albeit lost on home ice in Game 7. So there would have been a little bit of solace in that for you?
Well, it would have been nice for them to win so they'd get that monkey off their back. And once again, how do you say, the experience factor? Like, of all people, Mark Recchi, I think he was 38 possibly. I think he was the most deadly player on the ice. I think he might have scored 2 goals, but I mean, he didn't play a lot in the game. But you know what? That experience in the end is very important to get over that hurdle. The guys that have won before, and I think, players like Joe Sakic, these guys, that little bit of experience when all pressure's on, find a way to pull it off every time. But, what can you say?
Yeah. When you played, do you have a favorite arena? You can't mention the Coliseum or the home team. Do you have a favorite arena other than Vancouver?
Well, the old LA Forum was my favorite.
Really? And God, it was an awful place to work.
But for some reason, I would always score a goal there. Like, I don't know if it was Kelly or Rudy, but I would get so, I guess, excited playing against my idol, Wayne Gretzky, that I always seemed to have really good games there. And I always looked forward to there. And it wasn't the nicest rink, but I think it was playing against the competition that made it the most fun.
Wayne ever talked to you on the ice?
Not much, because the coaches would say, "Hey, Cliff, if Wayne's on the ice, I want you off as soon as you can." So they didn't want me on the ice with him. So they said I would chase the puck. It was not a good thing. So, I had to play against the McTavishes and more of the checking guys, not the offensive guys.
That's that does sound a little bit like Pat Quinn. Running off.
That's it.
So you say you're doing some community work for the Canucks, but what else is keeping you busy these days in Vancouver?
Well, I mean, quite frankly, right now our kids are kind of all over the world. I have one in Nashville, finishing one more year of college, and that's Carly. I've got one in Brooklyn, a songwriter.
Wow.
And Ty's in Berlin playing hockey, and Taryn is in Arizona. So we try to go visit them and spend time with them. And as everyone knows, family is important, and I was brought up that way. So first and foremost, we try to spend as much time with our kids as we can. And other than that, we have traveled a little bit, but we spend our time in Vancouver and play some charity games and try to give back to the community like a lot of other players. And yeah, I'm very fortunate to be a part of a fun organization.
Ty was one of those kids when he came out of junior hockey. I don't have to tell you, had a lot of fanfare because he was Cliff Roning's son.
Yeah.
How difficult was that for you, and how difficult do you think it was for him?
I think it was more difficult for Ty because I coached him early on, like when they were 13, 14, 15, spring hockey team, and they pretty well won everything right across Canada. And it was hard to, Ty would have a really good game, and the coach is supposed to pick who the best player was, and he might have had 2 or 3 goals, and I'd pick someone else just because I didn't want the controversy. But Ty's a smart kid, and he'd say, Dad, you always tell me do the right thing. And he was right. I said, Ty, you're right. You earned it. You should have got it, but this is why I did it. But he's a good kid. He's having a great career. Won 3 championships over in Germany. They're going for their 4th. He's loving it there. So this year they're starting up already. It starts early. And we'll probably head over there to watch them. And it's fun to watch those games too. So the game of hockey, not just the NHL, around the world, there's so many great hockey events happening and great teams. And hockey's getting better and better around the world. And that forces the NHL, the best players in the world are playing the NHL. So it's even harder to get the NHL compared to when I played.
Well, the DEL has become a real force in European hockey, and when you look at what the NHL has just announced with 2 games with the Boston Bruins in Munich and 2 games with the Edmonton Oilers in Cologne, the German fan base, if they are as enthusiastic about hockey as they are about soccer, it will be a great place to play. Correct?
Absolutely. I mean, the games in Berlin, 17,000 people. It's already sold out for this year again.
Wow.
And the German league, I believe, is the 3rd most watched live fans going to the games of all leagues in the NHL. NHL goes NHL, then it goes KHL, I believe they said, and then it goes the Germans league, the DEL. So they love their hockey, and their hockey's gotten better. And I think, obviously, Draisaitl's made a huge difference because he's one of the best players in the NHL for sure, and he has a huge following. So it's good for the game, for their youth, but it's also, watching that World Cup soccer was exciting, and I'd like to see, I'd love to see a little bit more of that, the best on best, because it's as a fan, it truly is fun to watch.
All right, Manny Malhotra's got a big job coaching a new team. If you had 10 minutes to sit down with Manny, what would you tell him?
I would just think of things like what Pat Quinn said, patience, but he knows. He's won before. He's got everything, all the qualities that I see in how Pat was. He's a guy that sits
Really?
back and listens before he says stuff, like speaks. Very intelligent. He's played all different roles in the game, from a penalty killer, power play, power forward, defensive play. So he's done it all. And as a coach, he can recognize, I think, especially working with the younger players that are coming up, guys have to respect him because he's a respectable person, and he's done it all. I think he's going to do great. But he's going to have some games that he's probably going to shake his head, like why players are going certain areas, and that's patience. But in the end, I think by Christmas time, he'll have the guys playing the way he wants them to play, and it's going to be a younger team. They got some older guys, but the youth will definitely help. But also, when you have youth, they tend to make some mistakes that end up in the back of the net.
Who has to have more patience, the coach or the fans?
I would say work with Malhotra together, because he also has felt the pain, and I think patience is important. I think patience, and you're going to watch some of these young kids become fabulous hockey players, but it just doesn't happen overnight. The league has gotten way too difficult to play in. The talent pool around the world is, I would say, 2 times tougher than when I played. The level of players are definitely better. You got your fourth line guys that can make saucer passes, and our fourth line guys could barely turn, but they drive guys through the boards. So it's a completely skilled game now. So
Don't tell Tim Hunter that. Do not tell Tim Hunter that, Clint.
Well, yeah, Tim had a little bit of skill, though. He had good. He could
Sure
shoot
he
a
did.
puck. Yeah, but
Well, it's funny you say that, because you are the prototypical player from the 1990s that people said, "Wow, if only Cliff Ronning could play in 2026." The clutch and grab doesn't exist anymore. Guys like Connor McDavid have never been water skied between the blue lines like you ever were. And what your skill level would allow you to do in 2026, Cliff, would have been amazing.
yeah, no, I understand that. I mean, definitely the way I played would have helped, but I'm proud that I played through the craziness of elbows and guys grabbing the back of your jersey, and I don't know. I think I gained a bit of respect from the bigger, tougher guy that I survived it, and I don't know. That's kind of cool.
It is, and I'll tell you what, as you well know, and even when you walk down the street and people point and say, "Hey, there's Cliff Ronning," the Canuck fans fell in love with you early, and always enjoyed you when you played for the hockey club. Thanks for this, Cliff.
Well, thank you so much.
Cliff Ronning on this edition of 100% Canucks.
I won't keep you long. Darren Millard with a tip for everyone who loves great hockey podcasts like this one. John Shannon and I host the OG of 100% Hockey, coming your way multiple times a week. The guest list is the best you will find. Multiple shows a week ensures you won't miss out on any news, and we dig even deeper into the biggest stories around the NHL. Most of our guests are also friends, so I promise there'll be more conversation beyond the X's and the O's. John really does get bored with that after a while. So join us for 100% Hockey. The name says it all. Subscribe now while you enjoy thinking about it, and enjoy.
One of the great things about talking to the Canucks alumni is that they still have the passion for the guys that they played with, and still really have a passion for this hockey club as a whole. And so many still live in Vancouver and the Lower Mainland as this team tries to dig itself out of being number 32 in the NHL, and as part of the rebuild. All these alumni guys are coming out of the woodwork to help, and it really is it's a great thing to see. And a special thanks to Cliff Ronning for taking some time with me today to talk about his time and about what to expect with this edition of the Canucks. I did not, to be honest, I did not meet Cliff, even though I was running Hockey Night in Canada and producing games, a lot of games on the West Coast in Vancouver with the Canucks. I did not meet Cliff Ronning till about a month ago. And I met in Penticton at the BC Hockey Hall of Fame. We had a great chat. We seem to have a lot in common. I'm a little bit older. No comments, please. I'm a little bit older. But, we still had a passion for the game of hockey and what the Canucks mean in the community. So to me, this was a no-brainer to get Cliff on the show. Next week, another version of 100% Canucks. And by the way, just as a blatant plug, on 100% Hockey, Darren Millard and I are spending the month of August reminiscing with some great friends about the history of Hockey Night in Canada that will be no more. So hopefully if you have some time to enjoy some of the shows that we've done, including one with Dick Irvin, one with Jim Houston, John Davidson, Al Strachan, the Satellite Hot Stove. And next week, Cuthbert and Hodge will appear on our podcast, 100% Hockey. I think that you'll enjoy that as well. But hopefully you enjoyed our time today with Cliff Ronning. Thanks for listening and watching this edition of 100% Canucks.